It's waffle time! For those who've been long-term subscribers to this channel, you know that yonks ago I used to do a weekly video called Waffle Time, where I'd just kind of update and have a chat about general stuff. Basically just a quadcopter waffle. And I waffled about various stuff, various quads that I was flying, light versus heavy, just general stuff really. And there were some of my favourite videos, but no one ever watched them. And they took time to do, and I kind of stopped doing them. But I thought it'd be a good point to do a waffle, because this channel has become a little bit more reviewy lately, and various bits and bobs of stuff have gone on, and I've reviewed quite a few different quads, and I thought it was time really just to pause and explain what's been going on and update you really on the different quads that I've been flying and how I found them and all the rest of it. Because as I've always said in my videos, you do these reviews on frames and bits and bobs, and you know, they're not really worth too much. They're just sort of giving you an initial impression, and it's only with long-term use that you really find out, you know, the quirks and the pros and cons, and whether you were right or whether you were wrong, etc, etc. So I think it's a valid thing to do every now and again. The first thing I want to touch on is the whole doing various reviews for people, in particular Banggood, which, if you've been a subscriber to me for some time, you know that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Banggood, as I suppose a lot of people do. I've used them a ton, especially when I was new to the hobby, because they're a great source of bits and bobs and cheap stuff which you just struggle to get in a lot of places, especially in the UK, although it's obviously better, much better at the moment actually. Now we've got some decent stock coming through. But I would always say, and I always try to buy stuff locally when I can. Having said that, in the 300 odd orders I've made from Banggood, I've never really had too many issues, but I would generally not spend, you know, a fortune or get big expensive B&Fs, simply because if it goes wrong, it's very hard to explain what's gone wrong and come up with a decent solution. So I tend to sort of stick to more cheaper stuff. But as I said, I've started doing reviews for them because they contacted me. In fact, they contacted me quite a while ago and offered me various stuff, Racer Star motors and stuff like that, and I was never particularly interested, because I'm only really here to do what I love and spend time doing what I love, and you know, that didn't include Racer Star motors or whatever else they offered me. Excuse me, I'm drinking tea as I make this. But recently I've been able to get the stuff that I wanted from them, so I've had some motors and various bits and bobs, and I'm happy to do reviews on that basis, because it allows me to look and get things that I otherwise wouldn't do. A classic example being the RCN power motors that I reviewed a week or two ago, and I suppose, like everybody else in the hobby, you know, I'd stick usually to T-Motor or Brother Hobby or people like that, non-quantities. And because Banggood send you stuff for free if you do the review, it kind of allows me to try out other things that I wouldn't be willing to, I suppose, put my own money onto. And I think it's a good thing, because the RCN power motors are probably, I would guess actually, probably my favourite motors I've tried recently, and that includes the Brother Hobby R6s and the T-Motors. They just perfectly suit my style. Maybe it's because it's a 6-inch, maybe it's because I'm running 6S, whatever it is, I just absolutely love them. But I kind of wanted to reassure people that this channel isn't trying to become UAV Futures. It's not a shopping channel. I'm not trying to con people into, you know, making me loads of money with affiliate links or anything like that. It's really, anything that you see on this channel is really stuff that just floats my own boat, stuff that caught my eye, and stuff I fancied testing really and having fun with, in hopes that it would become a permanent part of my own quad fleet that I fly, you know, as often as I can do. I'm not sat this end with a wall full of quads that I never fly. All my stuff gets flown daily, and obviously it costs me a lot of money to you know, to buy those parts. It doesn't matter if someone sends you a a frame. You still have to buy ESCs and motors and all the rest of the stuff. So I've sold a few of my quads recently to kind of local people in Norfolk FPV for cheap. Basically, I've almost given them away, but it's just allowed me to sort of not spend too much on the things that I wanted to review and new builds, etc. So yeah, so I kind of, just on that subject, I really just wanted to say that nothing's changed. I haven't sold my soul to the devil. I'm not interested in reviewing any old rubbish. I'm interested in reviewing the things that, you know, I would have liked to have bought had, you know, deeper pockets than I have. So this waffle, the first thing to point about this waffle is going to be on about the Mobular 7, which you'll have seen my review of. And unlike a lot of people, I was a little bit lukewarm to it, rightly or wrongly. Actually, some people made comments on the review, and their comments are fair enough. You know, comparing it to a 1S quad, you know, it does have a far greater bunch of capabilities. You can run it on 1S, and it'll be pretty similar to the Eachine UK65, etc. You know, you can fly it outside. It has got a lot of power. You can do more tricks and acro with it. However, as you can see, I've got 3 frames here. One is completely totaled. The other one has been glued so many times that it's ridiculous. And the third one, as you can see, is intact, but the rest of the quad isn't. The honest answer with this thing is I've flown it very little. I've probably put 20 packs through it, maybe 25 packs, pretty much all of those indoors. Obviously I did bust it the first time I flew it outside. I then started flying it inside and again kept cracking the frame. In fact, I actually put a new frame on, and as I was walking out of my garage, dropped it on the floor, and even dropping from knee height, it broke. You know, and that's fine. These frames are a couple of quid and you can glue them back together again. But if I'm honest, I've been in this hobby quite a long time, and I'm not unfamiliar with these little guys. You know, back in the day I flew all these kind of things when I was first getting into the hobby, and I've had little tiny whoops before, but I've never come across one that breaks as easy as this guy does. I mean, literally every sort of session I'd be gluing it back together, and people kept saying, you're missing the point, you need to fly it outside, blah 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 blah. So the other day when I went freestyle flying, I went to a wood with pine trees, and I thought, all right, I'll take it outside and I'll fly it and post some video and everybody will be happy, blah 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 blah. 2 packs later, I had a tangle with a bush, took the quad out and lost 2 motors. And all that had happened is a little twig or something like that had basically just snapped on 2 motors, the part of the windings which attached to the wires. And I did the world's tiniest soldering and got them working again, but it lasted 5 minutes before they went again. So to those people who said I missed the point, I think the point still remains. While it might have the power to do outdoors flight in windy conditions, etc., it just doesn't have enough robustness to do it. And you know, unless you have a perfectly lawned area and it's really dry where you live, I wouldn't even bother, because if you live in a wet area, I mean, I conformal coated this as well, but there's naff all you can do about motors getting snagged. I mean, you could possibly put a little bit of epoxy or a bit of glue at the base where the wires connect, but really this thing is, you know, while it has the power of a bigger quad, although it's way off the pace in terms of a 3-inch quad, something like that, while it has the power to fight against the wind, it's just not designed in a robust enough way that you could use it, you know, for more than a day or two without busting it, unless you're flying like, you know, your mum. So yeah, so that's my kind of view on that. So on the same day that I bust this flying in the wood, this also happened. And as you can see, the front brace is delaminating. I've completely snapped one arm here, and the other arm is delaminating as well. And I think what happened here on the front part is snapped off here as well. And I think what happened is I was flying around pine trees and I had a few relatively minor crashes, not particularly major ones. But I got stuck at the top of a pine tree and ended up getting it down, and it fell to the ground. And I think what I probably did is crack an arm, because as I was walking back I kept hearing like a creaking noise, and I thought it was just the this race wire that's on the front. As you can see, it's come loose, and I never really thought anything about it. And then I had another crash and this happened, and it wasn't particularly a major crash either. So I think I cracked probably this arm, and then in the next major crash this brace has basically caused the rest of it to twist and break. So, a bit disappointed about that. I do really like this quad, but I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned about the quality of the carbon fibre. And I know I'm going to be shot for this, but it seems to, I don't know how much you can see, it seems to delaminate far too easily. I would expect, oh, I've got a broken arm. Let's see if I can find another broken arm. No, I would expect on something like this to see a relatively clean break. The fact that we've got just the carbon lifting away from itself makes me wonder whether this carbon's too dry. There's not enough bonding material or polymer or whatever it is that they use inside it. So I'm really gutted about that. As I said, I'm not saying that you have to sort of, or I'm not saying don't buy this frame, etc. I'm just, if I'm honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with how many parts I've lost from one crash. So essentially, I'm going to have to replace two front arms, front brace, side part of the camera mount, and possibly other parts, although the rest of it looks okay. I don't know, is my honest answer. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not so sure that if I hadn't have been flying this guy, which is my Hyperlaw CG, which this is the oldest one I've got actually. I used to have two, but I sold one because they never broke. I'm not so sure if I hadn't have been flying this guy that I would have walked away at the worst with a broken arm, which would have cost me £5 to replace, instead of, you know, however much all those bits cost. £5 each for an arm, £7 or £8 for a front brace, whatever the side part is. So yeah, it's left me a little bit disconcerted, if I will, which amusingly leads me to this guy, which is a 6-inch version, and in direct contrast to what I've just been saying about the 5-inch version, I've got to say this is the best quad I've ever flown. This 6-inch, it just flies so goddamn amazing. I've never felt anything like it. Maybe it's just me, maybe the fact it's a 6-inch, maybe the fact it's because I'm using 6S, could be all those things, but the way it flies in the sky on 6-inch props or even 5.5-inch props, it's just so smooth. It really has kind of like opened my eyes, and I kind of wonder whether the 5-inch flew well, but for me it never flew as well as the CG. And I do still believe that a True X flies better than a squashed X like this. But you could argue on a frame like this that it's perhaps overcomplicated for what it does. You know, you don't get any jello or anything like that, but you could argue that on a decent 5-inch quad you're not really going to get jello anyway. But all of the kind of complicated bits on this sort of really start to make sense on this, because on a 6-inch, and I'm no expert on a 6-inch, what I commonly hear is that you suffer from jello. And if you can imagine, this thing was designed to remove that. You've got this front brace and you've got this clever bit that sort of takes the impact and stops any jello. It all comes together for me and makes this frame, makes the frame design suddenly make sense and suddenly justifies itself in a way beyond the fact that it was stunningly beautiful. And as I said, I've never flown anything as good as this quad. Maybe it's the extra weight, maybe it's these motors that I really like. It could be, it's probably a combination of all those things. But even on, I haven't even bothered tuning it because it just flies so well on the random PIDs that I put in. Every time I fly it, I just have so much fun. I forget that I'm going to tune and just enjoy it. So I'm sorry, Catalyst, that I broke this. Your carbon, I don't know enough about carbon to say. I'm probably doing myself no favours by saying this, but I've seen this a few times on mates, smooth operators, not like this, but I've seen arms go, and it's always in this weird, like, sort of delamination way. I just want to see a clean break, if I'm honest. Maybe that's the wrong way of looking at it, but god damn, if you want a 6-inch, or even if you've never flown a 6-inch, this thing is just, it is the best quad ever. And you won't often hear me say that. So on the same day as I broke the Mobular and the Smooth Operator 5-inch, I took this out. And this quad is like, if you're from the UK and of a certain age, it's like Trigger's broom. Every time I fly this thing, something goes wrong with it. You know, the first build that I did of it, that I did the build video, was riddled with video noise and crap Armaton motors. I've changed the board out, and I've now still got that Diatone little cheap stack, which has very little noise and is working miles better than the other bits and bobs I tried in it. I've now got Brother Hobby 1507 Avenger motors, the 4000 kV ones, and I've limited the throttle to 90%, so I still get all the lovely torque and power, but I'm not burning batteries, and it flies great. But every single time I take it out, it goes wrong. You know, either VTX goes wrong. This time I've lost another Cadex Turtle, the second one, and this Cadex Turtle has seen about 4 flights. They just don't survive in the UK. Again, I've conformal coated it, but again, somehow I'm guessing water has got in via the USB port, via the by the SD card or something like that, because I'm flying in wet grass. And again, I've lost another, you know, 50 quid worth of camera. So, you know, thankfully I didn't pay for this or its predecessor. But, you know, these things are like 50 quid. That would have been 100 quid down the drain, and I've maybe had 12 flights in both of them. You know, so if you live in LA and it's lovely and sunny all the time, knock yourself out. If you live in miserable England or the UK, especially at this time of year, you know, be really careful with these things. They're, you know, it's back to the Runcam split where I had exactly the same issue. They're just a pain in the absolute arse. And yet again, I'm stuck with a quad which can't do what it was designed to do. I'm kind of almost tempted just to rip this thing apart, if I'm honest. It's cursed, and put the bits on another frame, because I'm sick to the back teeth of it. I'm chasing a goal that I just can't reach on this guy. So yeah, so that's kind of an update on where we are. I'm still flying the Hyperlow CGs. It's still my, you know, everyday frame of choice. I still absolutely love it. In the two that I've had and all the millions of hours of flying that I've done on them, I've broken 2 arms. One which was quite unexpected, the other one which was in the worst possible crash that I've ever had. However, they're just tough. The 5-inch is just tough as nails, and because we've got this fancy woven carbon, if you notice, if I clean it up, even with no arm protectors, you just don't get any delamination ever. If it breaks, it snaps cleanly, but as you can see, look at that, this has been flown constantly for well over probably 5 or 6 months now, and there's not, you know, other than mud and crud and my usual making it ugly as I sort of chop and change things, there's not, the frame itself, there's not a mark on it. It truly is spectacular. So in terms of the channel, I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. Flight time's going to be limited, although I'm guessing not many people watch my flying anyway, but it's what I'm here to do, it's what I love to do, and it's what I'll constantly keep on posting as and when I can. I've got some new stuff coming in. I've been following the progress of some new iFlight motors, which are the Zing motors, and they're absolutely stunning. I'll flash up a picture. They're absolutely stunning motors. So I contacted Patrick Zing, who's the pilot who is basically been working on them along with iFlight, to see if he would send me some, and we had a really nice chat. But the long and the short of it is, I just don't have enough subscriptions, and he can find a lot of people with more subs than me, so no hard feelings there. But as I said, he was a really nice chap, and the actual spec sheet of these motors just, you know, is perfect. 4x9 bearings, 7071 aluminium, titanium shafts, really good balance of KVs, and they do it in 2206, 2306 or 2207. So anyway, I kind of fell in love a little bit with the look of these motors. I just loved the style of them. So I actually bought some from iFlight directly, and then I woke up the next day and had a glance at Banggood, and that morning they'd literally put them up for sale. So I contacted Banggood and said, can you send me some of these motors for review? And thankfully they said they would do. And then I contacted iFlight and said, listen guys, can you give me a refund here, because I can get them for free from Banggood? And thankfully they were really nice as well, and refunded me back. So I've got these guys coming in the 2207 flavour. I wish they did the pink in 2207 or 2306, but they only do that in the 2206 annoyingly, so mine are the black ones. Yeah, and I've got them in 1700 kV, and I'm going to be running them on 6S, and the long-term use of them will be one of two things. One, I may put them on the 6-inch smooth operator, although it flies so well, I'm kind of, yeah, I probably won't. Alternatively, I'm hoping that Rich from Hyperlow is going to send me his new RS Plus, which again I'll flash up an image. And this is basically a bigger version of the RS frame that I like so much. Basically a very light, nimble, sort of freestyle stroke race frame. And the RS Plus is a bigger version, and it's also the first Hyperlow which comes in a squashed X variety as well as a True X, or I think it's a True X, might be a stretched X. And the arms, you can interchange them, so you can try squashed X or True X. And you know, Richards have no mind that you know, True X is a better flying quad, but he's hoping that, you know, he'll bring some more people into Hyperlow by offering a more traditional freestyle squashed X setup. I think the reason True X flies better is it just has more pitch authority, which when you're carrying a GoPro on the front of your quad is really good. But you know, we could waffle into that for many hours. So I'll have those motors coming up. I've got hopefully a new Hyperlow frame, which will be with me in the not too distant future. I've also, I'm hoping, got the new Diatone 2-inch quad, the plastic version, which has prop guards, coming when that's released. And I kind of wanted to test that on the basis that I'm hoping it offers something that this guy just can't, as in a relatively small, relatively sort of safe-ish bigger park flyer that's not going to break too easily. And what else have we got? I think that is, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, I've also got the Emax Tiny Hawk to look at as well, and I'm hoping I might do some experiments on that, just to see if I can, yeah, I might run 2S motors at some point, because I really like the design of that frame. So yeah, so that's coming up too. The only other thing I want to mention is, for a long time I've been a subscriber, and he's been a subscriber of me, to Raymond FPV, who's an absolutely amazing freestyle pilot, far better than I'll ever be. And for a long time he's been developing his own frame, in conjunction with Acon, and he sent me 3D models of it, must have been 6, 7, 8 months ago, and he's kind of, you know, asked for my feedback, and I gave it him, and all the rest of it. And I think somewhere along the line I kind of, to put it bluntly, pissed him off. I think it was over a video he did on the rapid fire, and I kind of slagged it off a bit, which he wasn't very happy about, because he'd been given it by Immersion RC, and I think I kind of annoyed him, and you know, he hasn't mentioned it and whatever, but he doesn't seem to be as friendly with me as he used to be. And it was funny actually, because he was absolutely spot on his video saying it was amazing, and I was kind of spot on saying, you know, it's a lot of crap, because the versions that I'd seen in untested were the very initial versions, and they had tons of bugs and were a bit of a nightmare, but the batch 2 solved all those bugs, and it became a really good module. So yeah, so anyway, I kind of annoyed him, and he was going to send me initial batches and get me to test his frame and all the rest of it, but that's kind of died a death, and I think he's now saying, you know, I'm sure Acon will send you one. But either way, it's neither here nor there. I just wanted to take 2 minutes, regardless of the fact that I probably annoyed him, to say, check out Raymond's frame. You can see him talking about it on his channel. If you like sort of heavier, floaty, freestyle, you know, backwards stuff, a bit like Ladrib and, as I said, Raymond, etc., and a little bit like myself, because I kind of like the smooth flowing stuff rather than the rapid attack. Have a look at his frame and see what you think. As I said, I haven't seen it in the flesh, but my initial thoughts are it looks like an absolute tank of a frame, and I wish him all the best, and every success with it. So yeah, so that's it from me. I mean, if you want me to sort of specifically look at anything, or if there's anything you'd like to ask my point of view on, you know, I don't know everything. I don't claim to be an FPV know-it-all. I'm just a guy trying to find out, you know, what he likes to fly like everybody else. And I think this year has been really about finding what my all-time love is, which is these sort of big, heavier freestyle quads. And as I say, as of today, my favourite quad is the 6-inch smooth operator, regardless of the fact of my slight concerns over the way its little brother broke. And people keep asking me whether I prefer the CG or the smooth operator in terms of a freestyle frame, and my answer is always the same. I love them both, but if you can only afford one quad, get this one. And the reason for that is it's more versatile, it's more practical, it's got better carbon. I think the carbon on this is the best I've ever seen, and it just works. It's simple and beautifully designed. So yeah, so that's it from me. Let me know if you've got any questions, and I shall see you on my next video, whatever that might be, probably breaking something else. Cheers guys, thanks, bye bye.